I'm Chris POSHEK, and I have epilepsy. And my daughter Hannah, who is 17, has had epilepsy since she was a little less than a year old. When I was first diagnosed, it was hard to know where to turn, being that we were in an outstate community. And then we just searched out the Epilepsy Foundation of Minnesota to get more information. Hannah didn't necessarily have one seizure, and we took her to a doctor. She was having 25 to 50 absent seizures a day, and it increased to about 100. And so we had tests run, and then that's when she was diagnosed. And I went through a few emotional issues with her being diagnosed, just blaming myself because I was already diagnosed, and I know that was not true, but dealing with those range of emotions. My wife has dealt with my seizures and our daughter's seizures, so she's kind of been the rock and the glue of our family. EFMN has had a positive impact on our family, not only from giving us the information we needed early on, but we're able to connect with families that have made us realize that while we're dealing with epilepsy, some people have their epilepsy is different than ours and could be much worse. It's also allowed me to speak out in my community about my story and hopefully impact people. It's allowed me to be confident in when I have high school classmates that reach out because they have a daughter who's in her sophomore year at college and has just started having seizures, that I can share my story as a parent and what I went through. I mean, if it wasn't for the foundation, my daughter wouldn't have had a comic book about playing sports with epilepsy or been a winning kid and met so many different shining stars. There's so many things that I can say are positive about our experience with the foundation that there is nothing that I could say that isn't a positive.
Hi, I'm Chuck SEMROW. I'm Cody's dad.
Hi, I'm Carrie Buck. I'm Cody's mom. Cody is our 10-year-old son, and he's had epilepsy. He was diagnosed at age 4, although he'd had seizures at age 2 and 3.
I have to go to sleep early. That's pretty annoying for me since I like to stay up late. It's also keeps me tired, so I can't do as many activities.
I think one of the hardest things about epilepsy, in Cody's case, we've been told by several teachers and people in school he looks normal. He looks so normal. So we have to tell them what it's like, what epilepsy does, because a seizure is just the tip of the iceberg. And what do his medications do to him? How does that make it harder for him to be in school? The specific place that's affected by the epilepsy in his brain affects how he learns. I actually had a teacher tell me, so taking the epilepsy and putting it aside, here's what I'm seeing with Cody. And I was so shocked I couldn't even say anything to her. You can't take epilepsy and put it aside. That's just part of who he is, how he learns. So Cody did distance learning last year. So he hasn't been in the school building for 18 months. And we were in last Wednesday for a one-on-one assessment with his teacher, just for an hour. They were doing them with all the children. And so I also brought his rescue meds along to give to the nurse. And so we got done with the assessment, and we were walking through the hallway, and we walked up to the nurse's office, and there's a banner hanging on the wall that says Seizure Smart School. And yeah, I actually had him stand in front of it and take a picture. But it was just, I felt taken care of. That EFMN is here.
In my opinion, I don't necessarily find epilepsy as a bad thing. I don't mind having it as long as we can keep it under control. I like that there's a walk to meet other families, so I can meet other families with epilepsy.
There's a solidarity when people come together, having a common struggle. As Carrie said, epilepsy has different shapes and sizes and affects families differently, but there is that common thread that we have. There's a unity that we feel when we're together, that I feel when we're together with other families. It's just reassuring in that unified response to epilepsy, to push back against the stigma and the sense of being alone, to giving other families hope.
It's gotten easier, partly because I think there is, joy is not quite the right word, but there's power in being able to stand up to it and maybe being the only person that someone else knows. Because a lot of people we've met get kind of a shell-shocked look. I don't know anyone else with epilepsy. Mm-hmm. We're the first ones, and it's because we're talking about it, and that's how we raise money.
It's a way to serve. If people hadn't been fundraising for the walk before we came along and needed EFMN, it wouldn't have been there, and we might still be alone, casting around and wondering what to do. So it's a way to serve our community. It's a way to serve the epilepsy community.
And we are just so fortunate to have EFMN 20 minutes from our house, that we want to do what we can to ensure that it stays viable and stays, like he said, is there for the next person who starts this journey.